Welcome back, everybody. Before we get too deep into things, one last time, I would like to thank Baz for jumping in, subbing in for me today. He did a phenomenal job. I was able to watch the second half of that last game. It was insane, but we keep moving forward. It's another game with playoff implications on the line. My name is Maximilian Thor von Neumann, also known as Formal Casting Me. Still joining with me, of course, is Ewan Midnight Reed. And these two teams, I have to admit, they might be the most two enjoyable names to pronounce on stream.
Yeah, I mean, one of them gives me more pleasure than the other. I may or may not have a hint of Scottish heritage, lying around here. Don't know where. So to see McGregor, diving into it is going to be really exciting. And speaking of the mobile, I think it's time we introduce our two teams for our match today.
Yeah, that's right. We've got two big ones coming at you on that blue side. It is going to be McGregor, as I like to pronounce. I like to roll the R's. It's fun. Benny Boy, Lap Ultra, Your Local Stalker, ComGa, and Rythmic will be on that side today. And this is a team that had a lot of success early in this league, but the Swiss format kind of have been giving them a hard time in the later half. They still, though, have one more chance, though, to get into those playoffs.
Yeah, but facing up against them, trying to take the playoff slot for their own, is going to be the Queensland Academy for Science, Mathematics, and Technology. I think more commonly referred to as QASMT because, well, that's just easier to say. Their top laner is going to be PhatPhanpy. Their jungler is going to be 12 IQ, and then I assume he just slammed his forehead on the keyboard to get the rest of his name. Valience is going to be rocking that middle lane there with Nightwatch and Best Yuumi holding down the bottom lane.
Yeah, we're going to be calling him 12 IQ, I think, for the rest of this. I hope you can forgive us, chat, but let's be honest here. I'm not sure that is English, what has been put together. That said, keen for this matchup. Again, playoff implications on the line. We're going to want to see those team play. We're going to want to see more of those big moments. I mean, we can't overlook that Elder Dragon steal. I know it didn't result in the comeback. I believed. I know you and Baz didn't. I believed it could happen. And well, I did, maybe this game we'll get to see some fun like that for sure as we go straight into these picks and bans. For me, with every draft at the moment, my question always comes down to, can your jungler play Rumble? And I think we're going to find out.
Yeah, Rumble, super high priority, especially at the world stage. You look at stuff like MSI, he's first pick worthy. We didn't get to see him last game. He wasn't even banned. And so far, it looks like neither of these teams, I'm not going to say they don't respect the Rumble, but maybe they don't think that the other team is capable of rocking it out. Because Rumble, I talked about it in the first game, Formal. Rumble, Nidalee, these AP junglers, if you don't know how to safely pilot them, you can actually just straight up die to the jungle camp. So if you're not comfortable, it's not the best idea to just, decide, what, I'm first timing it today.
That said, if we do see that Rumble ban as well, I think it would be that third ban on the red side. But to further your point, I suppose, about these AP jungles, my counterpoint to that is Rumble's actually a surprisingly safe clear, just to add to more reasons how horrifying it absolutely is. Nidalee, I agree. There are some people who can play Nidalee, and some junglers who just can't and never will be able to play it. And I unfortunately fall into the latter in that category. You need to be very comfortable on some of these champions. Elise typically, I think, would be the go-to sort of safer AP option. But even then, Elise is only safe in the sense that your clear is safe. That is very much a, you either win in the first 6 levels or you're going to have a rough time type of game. Jhin, though, will be our priority, focusing on that bot lane, McGregor. Not too surprising. This team has won through there in the past.
Yeah, but the fact that they've been very willing to early rotate the Jhin is a little bit... It's just the champion itself is a little bit odd to me, because you've got these other super high priority picks. The Tristana, who's got bottom lane power as well as mid lane flexibility. Jinx is considered super popular. They were hovered the Xayah, which is now currently being hovered by their opponents. There are a lot of champions that can do really well. The Jhin, though, Formal, does tell us that they're looking for a super dominant bottom lane. You don't pick Jhin to just let the early game play itself out. You pick the Jhin to shoot someone in the face during that early game. And talking about AP junglers, it's a possibility.
Diana is also one with a relatively safe clear, and you get that early ganking pressure as well. I wouldn't be too opposed to this pick, because by locking in that Diana, you're definitely going to be adding pressure to whichever side of the map that Lap Ultra is going to be opting to play on. And when you combine that with that Jhin, that is level 3 kill pressure. That is a level 2, level 3 gank that can be executed. You have the crowd control, you have the damage, and you even have that dive gap closing potential. I'm really liking what McGregor is putting together right now.
Yeah, a lot of flexibility, but I really want to see what else they're going to pair that up with. Are they... I'm looking at the bottom lane specifically. Do they look to deny the Kai'Sa paired up with a good CC? Okay, ignore the support conversation I was going to bring up. Katarina is apparently the answer to it.
I'm not as big a fan of this one. I'm just going to straight up say it. I'm not saying I horribly dislike it, but you have an AP dive assassin. Why do you need two? I feel you're doubling down on something, especially when there's still so many picks available. You can now start to almost, pick against this. Get that AP defensive front line ready to go. Get that counter engage. Picks like the Rel can still synergize super well with the Kai'Sa. Keep that bot lane safe. Stop a lot of those dives from coming through. I think they kind of put themselves in that hold. Yet, you're going to take the counter matchup first. Going to be opting for the Malzahar, which does lane incredibly well against Katarina. Not sure about this cat pick. Hey, we seen one earlier in the season, if I do recall, where I questioned it then. And the Katarina wound up going legendary and single-handedly carrying the game. So I've been wrong about this pretty much exact comp in the past, but it's still going to make me nervous.
Yeah, but the Malzahar lock-in makes me feel a lot more confident against the Katarina. Now, in the laning phase itself, it can, if you're not managing your mana on the Malzahar, if you're not managing the minion raid rather well, you can actually die to a really competent Katarina who just decides, yep, I'm committing to the kill. I'll fall down about 10-20 CS, but 20 CS for a kill, I think is a worthwhile decision. It puts the Malzahar behind, but Malzahar's greatest strength is going to be the mid-game with the ultimate, locking down the Katarina so she can't just Beyblade let it rip in the middle of your team is so valuable because it forces an early QSS out of Katarina, which Katarina does not want to build, and now you're doubling down with anti-assassin with the Lulu, with the Polymorph, and the Wild Grove. You've got so much protection that all you need from a jungler here is a bit of a beef ball, and I think, honestly, you've got a fantastic composition lining up for the side of QASMT.
See, but here's a reason why I almost would have preferred, and as the Nautilus does get locked in, that's what I wanted to see in the first rotation. Yeah. So I actually am a little bit surprised that McGregor's still able to find this one, but here's why I would have opted for something like a route on the side of the hazmats. That's what I'm going to call them. I know that's not what they're called, but that's what the name reminds me of. But there's a reason why I would have liked to see the Rel on that side is because, again, you provide that same sort of counter engage that you would see with the Lulu, with sort of that area of effect stun that happens, and you have your beef ball there, which allows you to opt then for a jungler like what the Evelynn would have been, to sort of be that AP assassin to match the pace of the Diana and look for similar plays. I feel like they had to take the Evelynn in this situation. Otherwise, that jungle matchup would go so heavily in favor of McGregor. And they're going to miss out now on more front line, which, guess what? With that Nautilus, with that Gnar pickup, not only can McGregor dive you, but they can go front to back. That Jhin is going to be nice and cozy in that back line because there's not a lot of sort of deep dive engage, I suppose, with crowd control coming from the red side in this matchup. I don't know. This is a really tough one to call out. Like, there's little nitpicks I have with each of these team compositions. However, it's all about how you execute it. And if one of these teams can pull off one of these hard to execute team comps, I think they're going to run away with this game.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing is you can look at these compositions and we can talk about, the side of QASMT have fantastic anti-assassin lockdown with the Malzahar, the Lulu, the Ornn can do that quite nicely. Kai'Sa is probably the second safest AD carry against the likes of a Katarina and a Diana because she can ult herself to safety. Second, I think, only to an Ezreal, who can also just get himself to safety on a lesser cooldown. But then on the other side, you've got, as we talked about, not only a front to back with Gnar Nautilus as a front line, but the dive from Gnar Nautilus, Katarina, Diana is insane if they can pull it off successfully. So both teams looking for very different styles of how to play League of Legends here. And it comes down to execution. And for me, the first 10 to 15 minutes, and I'm staring at you two junglers here, Diana and Evelynn, you guys have to do well in these early games. And Evelynn specifically, avoid being tracked. Evelynn's greatest strength will and always has been unconventional pathing and unconventional ganks.
I feel this carries over not just through the early and the mid game, but with the late game as well. I mean, 12 IQ is going to have to try to up that, about 10 times further up and be at 120 IQ in this game because it's not going to carry through for that early and mid game. I think it's going to fall over at the late game as well. When you have this pick comp put together by McGregor, I would almost argue Evelynn is the target that you're going to want to find, because if you take Evelynn out of the equation and you dive and get the pick on this champion, no one is going to be getting to that Jhin. Not with 3 people diving in your face. How do you find a way around to get to that backside, get to that back line? And for Benny Boy, yeah, he might not be the one in your face, but it's sort of like, good defense through offense. There's going to be no way to get to the Jhin with 3 assassins or 2 assassins and a Nautilus in your face. Like, it's a very strange situation. Evelynn is the only character who I think has a way to realistically deal with Jhin in any of these team fights. And if Evelynn is the one who gets caught out, that could be night for our red side. So I don't know. This is such an interesting game to me.
Yeah, there is also one other possibility for dealing with Benny Boy, and that it's not a great one, but it is Night Watch on the Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa could commit to diving into the backline, as we have seen some Kai'Sas do. It's risky, don't get me wrong. And that sort of dive means that you, as a Kai'Sa, are on your own. And if either Diana or Katarina haven't committed to trying to dive you on your backline, they're going to turn around and you've basically got 5 seconds to live. So yeah. It's risky, but it's possible.
It'll be the timing of those types of situations, right? You have to time it. You have to dive as they're diving you.
Yeah.
Like counter their dive with your dive. It's sort of like when you flash over a skill shot, right? We're going to have to see that with the killer instinct or something. The potential for these team fights absolutely are going to be insane when we get into this game. And how could they not be? This is for playoffs. This is a chance to advance to the elimination stage. Win and you're in. Lose and, well, better luck next season. So we're going to throw it to a break right now. When we come back onto the Rift for our final regular season match. Welcome to Summoner's Rift, everybody. It's our last game of the 2021 regular season. It's going to be a battle. MacGregor on the blue side. The QASMT suits, they are in red. QASMT, however you want to pronounce it. QASMT. What is more interesting to me, though, than abbreviations is, well, it was going to be this death bush being set up. It looks like bailing on it, but the actual summoners being taken on the Rift in this one, a lot of strange variances. I'm seeing lack of flashes, lack of exhaust, pretty much a lack of convention.
Yeah. Now, the double, so specifically the one I want to talk about a little bit more is LoCalStalker with the Ignite on the Katarina. Now, that is very much in ties with accelerating this middle lane. And this means he's going to be willing to drop 20, hell, even 30 CS in order to secure that first kill onto his lane opponent here. So it's a very aggressive summon spell selection. And for some Katarinas who are very, very proficient on the champion, they love it. They don't think they need the safety of the flash because they've got their extra dagger jumping abilities. So they're more than happy to commit to these kills. So it's not, I suppose, overly surprising to see Stalker rocking that. But what is surprising to me is the lack of any exhaust on the side of QASMT. Because with a Lulu Kai'Sa, typically Lulus like to hit the exhaust. It's a defensive addition. And against double assassin, you could make an argument that Valience in the middle lane could value from an exhaust themselves. Because if the assassins, well, I'll say if, when the assassins do eventually dive your backline, you know, that extra little bit of damage reduction is critical. But I suppose these teams feeling confident enough that they've been able to hold their own and not let the other team, you know, get ahead of them.
Yeah, but it's interesting, though, because even when we start to look at those keystones, I feel like MacGregor's entire strategy is going to be trying to get ahead of them. The Dark Harvest taken by Benny Boy, I mean, the Electrocute is predictable, but going with the Ignite Teleport kind of play. I feel as if the game plan for MacGregor is a snowball. Why else do you run a double assassin team composition? As Dredgeline is going to connect. There's that follow-up route, a level 2 all-in. Perhaps Benny Boy needs that crit to hit. He has to flash forward with the Ignite. It's not going to be enough. And he considers going under the tower, does the smart thing and does not do it, but with that cannon, with those caster minions, Benny Boy in trouble. Yuumi getting a lot of damage down, and the Ignite does pay dividends in the end. First Blood does go to best Yuumi of all things. ComGa will have to Dredgeline to safety.
Yeah, and that could have gone really, really well. We saw the fact that you talked about it, they want to snowball this bottom lane. They got the start of it, and they got a really efficient trade. All of the damage that came out from the Kai'Sa Yuumi went into the Nautilus at first. So Benny Boy was like, all right, I got all the HP, I got 4 shots, but the problem is with the Jhin, when you fire that 4th shot and finish your reload, and you click on an enemy champion as the reload is complete, your champion will actually stand still for maybe half a second. And that half a second was enough for Nightwatch to get out of range, and then suddenly he realizes, well, I've now got no realistic way to kill the Yuumi, and I'm being beaten up as Valience is in a little bit of trouble in mid.
Yeah, imagine being an immobile mid laner with 2 assassins running at you. It doesn't matter if we're not level 6 yet. That's just not a fun time. Fortunately, Valiance did have 12 IQ just underneath, and will be able to help bail them out. Okay, you know, I'm gonna make an asterisk on this. I'm just gonna call him 12 from now on because I think 12 IQ actually comes across a little mean. I was just saying that because it sounded cool, but now that I think about it, let's not go down that route. We're just gonna be calling him 12 henceforth.
So this middle lane, I do kind of want to address it a little bit more because I said, if I recall correctly, I was talked about when we were in Champion Select, Valiance needs to keep his, he needs to be able to successfully manage the wave and manage his mana in order to keep Katarina controlled, especially when it comes up from level 1s to level 6. Look at his mana bar right now. He is mana starved in this middle lane. He's not able to hard shove it out because you need the Lost Chapter in order to do that. And 12 might be in a little bit of trouble here.
Yeah, 12? Now they're fine.
Fine.
Yeah, it's an Evelynn. They're hard to track. This was something we did discuss before. It's going to be hard to sort of track. I mean, it's still almost equally as important that you do track Lap Ultra as well on this Diana, who has made their way to that bot side of the map. I would think that Nightwatch and Best Yuumi should be aware, considering, you know, the little interaction we saw previously. However, they're continuing to play super far up in this lane, relying on those river wards to sort of keep them safe.
Yeah, but look at the wards. Look at those very wards. They've got a ward in the Tribush, and they've got a ward in the river itself. So if LoLQHS wants to try gank here, it's gonna have to be something, and this
it's got to be now, right?
Yeah, you've got to go now with your Nautilus. And Nautilus is flanking. This could be an opening for them, Formal.
Yeah, they're going to be looking for best Yumi. I imagine Dredgeline will make contact, and Lap Ultra will try to follow up. They don't get the root out of Benny Boy, but it does not matter. Lap Ultra gets one, and now free reign to go for the second. Decides not to commit to it in the jungle, and I mean, why not? You could take a dragon, and you can take lane priority. The world is McGregor's oyster.
Yeah, they are choosing to back away for now. I think they could realistically for the dragon, but I think they are hanging around the middle lane. But speaking of hanging around...
Yeah, it looks like a little gank happening up top right now. 12 is going to go in. PhatPhanpy tries to follow it up. Doesn't really get the damage that they needed to even burn out the flash. So a pressure gank doesn't result in too much yet. No reaction from McGregor to start pushing for the dragon then. I would have liked to see him go for it in response. That's not going to be the case. Each team sort of playing a more passive approach when it comes to the general macro.
Yeah, and... Oh, I was looking at the recalls there. Valience was not able to afford the Lost Chapter, which is kind of the bread and butter for Malzahar. Because the moment he gets that, he just hard shoves the wave, and Katarina really isn't allowed to interact with the Malzahar there. But only has the Codex, so we'll see if Valiance can successfully manage his mana in that middle lane. And for this Katarina in the hands of Local, I want to see something out of them soon. They just hit level 6, but any all-in they commit to one-on-one is going to be nullified. They need to get their jungler to back them up.
Yeah, absolutely. As PhatPhanpy feeling pretty aggressive, yet a key time for a Mega Gnar, and then a Gnar into the wall does force out the flash out of PhatPhanpy. Rythmic, possibly considering following this up. Lab Ultra is around, and here we go. Rythmic needs to connect on the stun, but can't quite hit it. Instead, just throws a boulder into the Ornn's face. They're about equal size, so it should do a good chunk of damage, which it did, and then PhatPhanpy will now have to recall.
Yeah, but Dragon is going to be opened up here, and this is really good macro. You see the enemy jungler on top half of the map, you secure the bottom half objective. Dragon #1 is an ocean as well, which is fantastic, not only for Valiance in the middle lane, because of course, hey, extra mana is always welcome for an early game Malzahar, but with this top lane, we haven't talked about it a lot, but Gnar is going to, sort of wail away onto the Ornn. Ornn does get bullied quite heavily in these ranged matchups, so the extra little bit of sustain is always welcome, and will avoid Rythmic from being able to get too much turret plating off of Phat up in the top lane.
And it's really good, I believe, for McGregor that this top lane is going their way when you look at the mid lane right now, as Evelynn is sort of being forced to stick around right there. Could be looking for that play, just trying to bait Stalker in. I mean, I don't think Stalker goes for this, though, unless Diana is in the equation, although I could be wrong. Here we go. The immediate response from Valiance does so much damage, and 12 will just step forward and pick up the kill.
So that was ironically a little bit miscoordinated. Valiant said, yes, we want to pick this fight. And right as he does, 12 backed away to go look at the Diana who was farming the chickens. And then realized, oh crap, I'm needed in mid lane. Has to run over. Thankfully, Valiant has enough damage, forces Stalker back, and then Stalker just burned everything, committing to try go for a trade. Wasn't able to make it out in one piece. And Rythmic now might be the next victim here.
Yeah, Call of the Forest God is going to be used. And remember, 12 actually did not use the last caress during that last fight. Won't be able to find an opportunity to use it here. So that's Call of the Forest God used. Rythmic again, just doing a very strong job in lane. Has eaten a couple ganks now and gone away with really no negative side effects.
Yeah, and that's really good for the Gnar. Just the champion in general, right? Gnar is really, really flexible. He can be the lane bully. He can be the lane bullied. Talking about bullied, though.
Yeah, again, remember, Last Caress still is available, and expect that to be used as the execute here, as LoCalStalker is going to try to run away. Is there enough damage? Yeah, no, there is. 3 kills on the board now for QASMT.
Yeah, and they're hard focusing into this middle lane here. 2 kills on the Katarina already have been scored against her, and this is a serious problem because Katarina, as an assassin, needs to snowball. They need to get something going here. They cannot just continue to be bullied. But Valiance has done a great job on the Malzahar to stay relatively safe. He's got a 20 CS lead. He's got 2 assists under his belt. And whenever Stalker wants to play up, he always has to remember, if I go for any sort of trade, well, 12 has already visited twice. There is nothing stopping him from visiting a 3rd time.
And this is what's kind of surprising for me, because I can almost guarantee you for QASMT, the reason why they're putting so much priority on the mid lane is because it's a mix of it being the most vulnerable, but also really easy to set up counter ganks for. That's one of the strengths of Malzahar. And I'm sure they were expecting to be seeing more of Lap Ultra in these middle skirmishes. That's why in the fight previously to the one we just saw, 12 was actually starting to move down more towards the Diana. It's been a little bit surprising that McGregor hasn't been able to match that tempo, and it's really putting the entire team behind, I feel, because McGregor needed to snowball, but they give up first blood down Blot. They're losing out to mid lane just by sheer jungle pressure. The only thing they have going for them right now is the Gnar up top. And can the Gnar really take a game over? Well, maybe with help of Rift Herald, we'll see. But even then, I'm starting to get worried for our blue side.
Yeah, they need to get that snowball online. We talked about how you talked about it as well. Talking about Benny in this bottom lane with the Jhin. Really wants to get that snowball going. It's not working out so well. They're even down in CS, partly courtesy of that first Yankee. But now look, talk about jungle pressure. Look who's mid lane once again, but this could be something.
Yeah, well, this time it is the side of QASMT acting as the initiators, and very odd sort of exchange right there. I don't actually believe that Valience was able to get that dot down. The Malefic Visions wasn't able to hit YourLocalStalker, so a lot of the damage really did not come through. Up top as well, Rythmic getting into a little bit of a trade right here. PhatPhanpy definitely, you know, putting that Bomby Cinder to good use stays quite healthy.
Yeah, and with the Ornn at this point, while the lane matchup sucks in that you're just going to get bullied all game, you're going to get poked down, you're going to survive. Unless you, like, really overpush it or always can commit to it.
Yeah, didn't connect with the Call of the Force God, but I don't think it matters. 12 just does too much damage. No, Phat, give the kill to the Evelynn. You didn't need to take that one. I know the lane is rough for you, but you really should be snowballing your jungler.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, I don't actually think it's the, oh my lord, mid lane.
Oh, here we go. The double assassin dive going to work. And this is why 12 needs to be careful whenever they pick their moments going to those side lanes.
Yeah, the moment that the Evelynn isn't in the middle lane, we saw that McGregor is like, all right, engage, do it. But they make it work. They work it out there. They do get the kill. But I worry it's a little bit too late for the middle lane pressure. Malzahar has just finished his first item. He is, of course, going for the Leandries as his mythic. That's surprising, I'm sure, to nobody. But it now means that he has enough wave clear to press EQW, and the wave is clear, and he can back away. He no longer needs to position himself in a place where he can be engaged on unless he chooses to, and then we know if he chooses to get engaged on, there's a high likelihood that Evelynn is waiting somewhere in the wings.
Okay, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. Just a little bit to that play that happened in the top side. You're a top lane main, I'm a jungle main. I don't think that has been ever more clear than each of us disagreeing who that kill should go to. Just putting that out there as 12. See, that's why I wanted 12 to get the kills. Because 12 is going to be able to do this. Goodbye, Katarina, although we could be seeing a response down bot. That polymorph buys time for Best Yumi, as Nightwatch does do the killer instinct counter engage, makes it a trade 1-for-1 just as 12 and Valiant shows up, and Benny Boy may have gone a bit too deep. The flash follow through, but it's actually going to be turned around and placed on the Lap Ultra. That secures the double. That secures a pretty much a wash, actually. 4-for-1. Yeah, if you're a QASMT, you take that every day.
Can we appreciate how disciplined 12 IQ is on this Evelynn? Instead of committing to the first kill, he runs past the first kill to secure the second and then gets that one on the back out. Like, that is really good discipline. Most junglers, form, I'm sure you can attest this, would just see kill, immediately ult on the Evelynn, get kill, walk away. Instead, holds the ult, dives the turret a little bit there, knowing the ult will get him out alive, now has 4 kills and 10 stacks of a Dark Seal in their inventory, ready to go here. We talked about jungle pressure first 15 minutes. I wasn't expecting this from an Evelynn of all champions this game.
And it's not as if Lap Ultra, I feel, isn't like doing their best job to try and match pace. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 extra ganks coming from 12 in that mid lane. But outside of that, like, Lap Ultra still sitting with 3 kills to their name, still has been a menace on the map, but 12 has just been taking it to that next level. We said they needed to go 120 IQ. Well, we are getting that and possibly even then some. 75% kill participation, 0 deaths at this stage. I imagine we might even see the Soul Stealer come out if this rate continues, because there is nothing scarier than a fed Evelynn, because it feels like they never drop off.
Yeah, you talk about the Soul Stealer immediately picked up before the Mythic even there for him. Also, feeling very confident for 12, but I don't blame him. He's played this game really, really well. He's had really good discipline on the Evelynn. And assuming he continues to play this way, playing around his laners, I don't see a problem with this, as rythmic is going to try to make something mid lane, but...
yeah.
Oh my lord, never mind.
Yeah, well, this is what happens when you kind of leave your poor Katarina all alone. Now, Rythmic is tanky enough to not go down, one would think. How much damage can 12 realistically do? Well, not if you back out. Meanwhile, down below, Lap Ultra looking for that response. Only is able to collect Best Yuumi with the ultimate, but they're still going to chase. It could be Curtains for Nightwatch, who does burn Flash. Second shot hits. Only one more needs to. It's a miss. Last shot does not make contact, and Nightwatch is able to walk away.
Yeah, that deadly flourish at the end got me worried there. So many players will drop their guard after the ult time's up. Oh no! Oh, this is a disaster.
Oh, this could be horrifying. Trying to find a way in. Goes get the charm, and not even needing the last caress. You blink, and Benny Boy is gone. Void Seeker does get body blocked by a minion, so no follow-up coming from Nightwatch, and with the teleport from behind, 12 IQ. Ashley is going to need to reach deep in the bag of trips to come out of this one. The last caress used defensively as teleports come in. Lap Ultra is able to find 12 IQ, but here comes that re-engage. It's a 4v2, and PhatPhanpy might be in a bit too deep. Yeah, you have called the Forge God, but it's not going to do much. Valience can only poke from behind. Not really burst damage coming out of a Malzahar here.
Yeah, so overcommittal coming here from the side of, well, both teams, but realistically, QASMT on the side of red. These TPs coming in for backup weren't a bad idea, but I feel like where things really fell apart for them wasn't the fact that, you know, they lost their jungler because of a really good TP playing from the Katarina, but more so the engage attempt from the Ornn on the follow-up. At that point, you need to just take the fact that, yes, you did lose some stacks from your junglers, Medjais, your fight didn't go the way you want to, and back up. As Yuumi, oh no, not again.
Oh, Best Yuumi. I think we've seen this one already, although Nightwatch is around this time, and they're able to get rid of Lap Ultra before Benny Boy can even get themselves involved. This Nightwatch doing more and more damage, I feel like, than we might have been expecting this early. Now Benny Boy alone in lane needs to be careful of a dive. Similarly in mid lane as well, your local stalker feeling the pressure as 12 was around. It feels as if every lane is starting to go in favor of QASMT.
Yeah, and for MacGG here, it's... Oh, this could be something.
Oh, get there, Rythmic. Were you too late? I think just. You might be able to return the favor, although Flash is not available. Valiance does have backup on the way. Won't be able to get out alive, but 12 IQ could be looking for revenge instead. Does not find the charm, which would have been needed. Instead, we'll be happy to farm in that mid lane, but can't stick around too long. Lap Ultra is back in that mid lane, and being aware of the situation, it does look as if QASMT might be favoring towards a Rift Herald, or not just the Scuttlebug for the time being.
I think they can't, like, as much as I would love them to take the Rift Herald here, Dragon spawning in less than a minute, I feel like you can't afford to, so take the Scuttle Crab. You can actually secure the blue buff, and look at this two-man invade. This could actually be something. Oh my lord.
Oh my gosh, Best Yuumi trying to buy as much time as possible, but when the wild growth is used on yourself, you know it's a bad sign. Meanwhile, in the jungle, PhatPhanpy and Lap Ultra just kind of firing through in the vein, or are they? How did Benny Boy turn that around? I wish we could have seen a replay there. That was pretty big from Benny, as Nightwatch and Yuumi did each fall.
So Benny Boy is actually able to turn that around because once again, oh my lord, Rythmic, what are you doing?
Oh, this is a very risky play. They have PhatPhanpy, and 12 is saying, yeah, no, have fun with that. I'm bailing. Bye, teammate. I'm more important than you.
12, okay, remember, 12 has got his Medjai stacks to protect him. He's only sitting on 8. If he loses, if he dies one more time, without getting more stacked, it's the Medjai becomes not worth.
Oh no, the ultimate is available. You know where this is going. Death, Bush, blap, blap. Valiance does take the kill. Says, yeah, you don't need any more stacks. I need the kills. I need the gold myself. I am the real AP damage dealer. This is a very chaotic game, Ewan.
Yeah, it's a very bloodthirsty game. It's quite enough ways. I'd like to talk, but look top lane.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think we know how this goes, right? 12 steps up, and then Rythmic jumps away. Wait, where's Rythmic going? This could be dangerous.
He's exploring, is what he's doing, Formal.
Jungle exploring. But we also have Valiance, again, sort of waiting in bush from behind. This could be a Mountain Drake, I feel. And yeah, it doesn't look like QASMT is going to want to challenge.
Yeah, no. They're going to trade Dragon for Herald. I personally don't like this trade. I feel like the Dragons with their permanent buffs is just a better objective to secure there, and they won't even actually secure the Herald, and they need to get a couple kills now, and Rythmic has finally run his last race.
Are you sure about that? I mean, Rythmic does have backup coming in Lap Ultra.
Yeah,
is going to be able to get to the blasting cone, and yep, all right, there it is. Assist going to Airy to help secure that kill.
Yeah, it was a nice attempt. It was a good run through. I feel like he just overstayed a little bit. Also, I'm pretty sure Rythmic would have...
This would be a huge kill. Enough disruption, though, means no immediate burst from 12, but the backup from Valience is here. 12 really wants it, diving for it, and with the last caress secures the kill, but now needs to be held in place yet. The Death Blossom is stopped by Valiance. Curtain Call is going to be body blocked as well before the rest of the team can jump onto that backline. ComGa, now the last member standing, flashes over the wall, but 2 follow-up flashes means there is no help for escape. That is an ace and a 10-kill lead as we pass the 20-minute mark.
There is so much you could unpack from that one. The phenomenal save coming from Valiance to keep 12 alive. The fact that we saw Nightwatch ult into a Jhin Nautilus just to try to keep 12 a little bit safer, to force the Jhin to get out of Curtain Call, and then of course had the damage to nuke down his health bar. And now this snowball has started, Formal. The snowball is well underway. The snowball, though, isn't going the direction McGregor thought it was, or it's hit some sort of really weird U-turn as they're coming right back at them.
Dude, it's the Sonic 06 snowball. We're going up the mountain instead of snowboarding down it right now as we pass the 21-minute mark. I'd like to think I'm not too old for that reference. Come on.
I just wasn't expecting it. Of all things to pull out, that's the reference you decide I'm going to commit to. Like,
you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, you've seen that, right?
Oh, yeah, I know exactly what you're referring to. I just wasn't ready for it. Like,
all good. But yeah, no, this is typically what happens. So when a snowball comp doesn't work, it does sort of like go down in a blaze of glory. Rythmic, you might be doing just that. Comes into the wall. Call of the Forge God actually misses as 12 is still sticking with. Here comes the counter again from Lap Ultra, and they do not suppress the Diana. Not sure that's the right call right there. Lap Ultra will be able to shut down that Evelynn, take those stacks away. That's all well and good. However, that is a nice chunk of shutdown going back over towards the side of QASMT. And, well, how much do they really get away with this, though? PhatPhanpy, again, surrounded by 3, might actually be able to take down YourLocalStalker. Flashes for it, and does trade 1-for-1 in the 1v3. Valiance can only sit back and watch again. Malzahar doesn't really do that DPS, kind of drops abilities and then walks away.
Yeah, but the very fact that you were even able to get the kill onto the Katarina as Phat in that position is phenomenal. Because you're just keeping control of the game here. 7,000 gold lead in favor, 3 turrets to none. You have 2 dragons to just 1 on the opposing sides there. And you can sort of go wherever you wish, because this double assassin combination no longer exists. The threat of a Katarina diving into your backline, while obviously it's always going to exist, it is so much less of a threat now, because all you now have to do is worry about the Diana. And assuming that you successfully suppress the Diana, or polymorph the Diana, or ult away from the Diana if you're Nightwatch, you're safe, or in this case, just kill the Diana. It's always an option.
Yeah, well, you have to hit your abilities to be able to do that. Lap Ultra actually gets some health back with the smite. Is that looking to turn around? Curtain Call coming through as well. 12 IQs. Last Caress does not secure the kill, but Nightwatch, however, does. Meanwhile, YourLocalStalker on the tail end means 12 has to book it back through the jungle. Meanwhile, further down, Last Yumi gets a poke, gets a polymorph, looking for a re-engage, but instead it's happening back towards the mid lane. We're being held in place. It's YourLocalStalker. There's the killer instinct, but the kill does go to 12 instead. Tower about to fall. 5 members pushing down mid. QASMT, every fight going their way.
Yeah, and this is going to be the middle lane inhibitor. Turret crushed. I'm not sure if taking the inhibitor at 23 minutes is always the best idea. Some people say it is because it filters, gives you massive map pressure. Some say it's not because it filters gold to your opponents. Obviously, they're feeling confident. Take the inhibitor. Are they committing to the end?
I mean, why not? You've got full health bars. You don't really have the most summoners in the world, but the only ultimate you really need to be careful of here, I'd say, would be Lap Ultra or a Death Blossom. Yet Lap Ultra's already gone, and the Call of Forge God does get disrupted at the last second by ComGa's depth charge. That's going to be a little helpful. Rythmic's going to try to find a way in. Does have that Mega Gnar and the Gnar ability available. Death Blossom helps find one, and the Gnar is used to stun Valiance. This is a small disaster for QASMT. 12 is able to escape, but will be the only one, and I'm not even sure they're completely out of it. They're running through the tower gauntlet with Rhythm and ComGa still on the chase. If they are able to catch this Evelynn, they could bring her down. Rythmic hops over the wall, leaps to a minion, throws the boomerang, gets the slow. Here comes Rythmic, but Last Caress is available. He could turn it around. It is the get down Mr. President minion block that keeps Rythmic alive.
And that is a disaster. And that's why I was going, like, are they actually going to end here? Because Gnar was recalling from topside with Mega Gnar basically available. All 5 members of McGregor were going to be available for the defense. Yes, you're ahead, but you're not that far ahead yet. It was a little bit of overconfidence, I would say, from QASMT to go for that kind of end. And now they're at the real possibility of not even being allowed to secure Dragon number 2 because 12 took so long to die, he's not here for this.
Yeah, but just the threat of Nightwatch and Best Yumi kind of delaying, although with the 2 teleports now being coming, although here's the return teleport, you still do not have 12, and yet McGregor, they're nervous about this fight until they see Valience all alone, and there is the double dive coming through. The follow-up gets 1, 2 knockups as the depth charge is able to get this team to the back line. They continue to fight their way through. Nightwatch does find your local stalker and just barely escapes with their life as PhatPhanpy will pay the price. Call the Force God's not knocking up anyone, but 12 is on that back line, finds 1. Could be looking for more over the wall, although ComGa actually is going to be looking for 12 instead. They play a game of chicken. 3 members still up and standing for McGregor. Will 12 find another way in? Thanks to sees that back line. Benny starts the back. You need to be careful. There's the flash engage. Rythmic is going to be the target. Last Caress does not have the execute damage as the Gnar will throw 12 over the wall, and there is the stun. There is the follow-up damage. An ace for McGregor.
Yeah, but ironically, the fact that 12 died there is fantastic. There are no turrets at the Nexus now. Both Nexus turrets are gone. They were so far delayed coming out there that the Nexus turrets are now gone, and that is such a vulnerability because of all champions to have an open Nexus against, it is that you do not want to deal with. It is a Twisted Fate, and it is an Evelynn and a Shaco because they come out of nowhere.
Yeah, this is a bad position for McGregor to be in, who it seems like are starting to fight back in these team fights. I mean, granted, that was sort of like a 5 versus Lemmings march into the pit trying to delay that dragon. However, we do see the strength of the double dive comp come through in the end. The second they see that opening or someone out of position, they can just jump on them and delete them from the map. The question is, can they do that enough times to get back into this game where one more mistake will cost McGregor everything?
What worries me about it is the fact that these mistakes that could be, exploited, they're easy to find because the champion hunting for them is an Evelynn. Evelynn is one of her greatest strengths is the fact that she can find the weaknesses of your opponent because she can see you, but you're not allowed to see her. It's like playing chess, but you can only see half of the board. It is such an impossible task unless you're successfully tracking the Evelynn, which we know that McGregor are struggling to do because they've been struggling all game to do it. You're just going to have to play so safe. And when I mean that, no one is allowed to go off on their own with the exception of Rythmic. Outside of that, you need to be staying up in pairs because otherwise you're going to have an Evelynn just pop up behind you and assassinate you.
I'm not even sure I want Rythmic to be alone right now, though, to be quite frank, because, like, there's still worlds where, Valience and Nightwatch, the 2 of them could take down Rythmic together. Like, any sort of crowd control hitting Rythmic on his own should bring him down with the lead that QASMT has been able to accrue for themselves. It makes every decision that much tougher for McGregor with this exposed Nexus, with the game and the season now on the line. They have to play this next siege perfectly because knocking on the door, QASMT are saying, you know what, we want to kick this thing open and get ourselves into the playoffs.
Yeah, but there's also the reminder they do not have to force this now. And why I say that is because they do have an Ornn. Ornn's passive upgrades, the ornaments as we like to call them formal, are starting to come in here. We of course have never mind, there's a fight in mid already.
Yeah, no, they're going to go for it because they have 12 on the flank. That's they call the Force God, only got 1. However, they instead get the pick on the Lap Ultra, and that is most of the damage gone for McGregor. At this point, all they need to do is make sure they execute the cleanup, cleanly for lack of a better word. 12 still looking for that flank, looking for your local stalker or Benny Boy. Either pick right there ends this game. Void Seeker comes through. Rythmic goes Mega. A huge Gnar here could turn things around. PhatPhanpy tries to stop Rythmic from getting to the backline, who goes in for it, but 12 makes his play. Local Stalker is gone. It's 3 versus the world, and guess what? The world is going to win. QASMT win the fight. They look for kills as Super Minions go to the Nexus, because guess what? They're going to win this game.
Yeah, that is going to be it there. There were signs of life after the failed early attempt to end, but the Sonya's there. There's no way.
Yeah, Valience is ending. Valience is ending. It's all good. Valiance knows what's up. It's a trip to the playoffs. Give them the ace. Give them the game. QASMT advance.
Yeah, and that game was really, really fun to watch. When we talked about it in Champions League, right? Like, both these teams have such fun ways to play the game. But the biggest thing I think happened in this game, yes, you could talk about, 12, he's got a MacGG, he's got 12 kills under his belt. Like, you could go on about that. I want to talk about this, the mid-jungle duo from the lineup there. The way that Valience and 12 worked together to make sure that this Katarina, who needed to snowball, who took the ignite to snowball, basically wasn't allowed to play League of Legends for the first 15 minutes of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a mid-camp, don't get me wrong, but it was one that I think went better than even QASMT predicted. As I mentioned before during the game, when you see this team composition that McGregor put together, you would assume Lap Ultra would be playing that mid lane, looking to double dive, make sure you keep that Malzahar down. And yet time and time again, it was a situation where 12 was able to get to that mid lane first, make the play before Lap Ultra could respond, forcing Lap Ultra to go to those side lanes. And it wasn't going to be enough in those situations. I also do quickly want to give credit to the Kaisa of Nightwatch as well. I mean, those killer instincts were used exactly as we expected, using to avoid the dive potential, and did come through clutch in a few situations. I feel like it's a little bit unfair that the game was so jungle dominant in this one, because that was still a phenomenal performance from realistically actually both of the bot laners.
And it was, you can't take away from their thunder. The Lulu, I want to specifically talk about that Lulu a little bit. Yes, there were some great moves from Knight on that Kaiser, diving into the backline like we kind of expected him to. But the job that Best Yumi did on this Lulu was ridiculous. Yes, you can, he did the shielding, he did the polymorphs. If anyone got to see him, whenever Diana dived into the backline, there's just polymorph. Now you're not allowed to play the game for 2.5 seconds. I think it's 2.5 seconds or something like that. Like, it's ridiculous. As an assassin, even if it is only a second or two as a Diana, a second or two as a Katarina is absolutely critical. And to deny that with the Lulu was just, I think, phenomenally played by Best Yumi.
It's all about the disruption in those situations, just breaking up sort of the learned knowledge, those cooldowns, being able to throw it off balance, and then, picking up that kill. Obviously, phenomenal stuff coming from a red side, as that will do it for today. Two fun games, two very different games, might I add. Chaotic, each of them, but in their own ways. No Elder Steals. I'm a little disappointed by that, but hey, you have to get to that Elder Dragon first. Going to this offseason, though, I mean, I do feel as if the level of competition from a base level has risen this year in Queensland, but my question is going to be, I'm not going to ask you to predict who is going to win the state. I don't think you would make that one. But when you've seen the other states, how do you think as a whole, seeing this regular season in bits and pieces, how does it compare, do you feel, to the rest of the country?
Based on some of the games, there is a level of aggression in Queensland, which feels very Queensland-esque. Like, you get some of the other states, like I know Victorian games are usually quite scrappy, but they're scrappy based around objectives. The Western Australian ballpark, they typically play, I argue, like a more of a macro sort of game. Like, it's not even kills around objectives, it's trade objectives. And then Queensland's just like, hey, can we fight? Yes, then we fight. So I personally think, and this is I'm going to regret saying this in a minute, that Queensland has a good shot against the other states, because this style of League of Legends, in my opinion, the let's fight, the LPL style of this, a fight, drags the other teams down to their level, and then you beat them with sheer experience of how to play Chaos League of Legends. So there's openings. I'm not going to say anything more than that, because I feel like I'm going to get mobbed by a bunch of Victorians in like 5 minutes. But it's looking good, and that's all I'm at liberty to say.
Look, I will follow up that saying, yeah, bring back the LPL style. There's a reason why I feel that is the best region, but that's neither here nor there. That is going to do us for tonight. Again, thank you everyone for tuning in. It's been an absolute treat of the season, and remember, from this point moving forward, we're getting into the thick of it. Best of series, knockout elimination style, and soon a champion to be crowned. Be back when we are back, because pretty sure it's going to be in a week or two's time. Until then, stay with us. I've been Formal. That has been Ewan. Shout out to Baz covering that first game. Until next time, have a great week, everybody.